Welcome to Mr. Brown's Basement, a channel devoted to sharing the craft of repairing, restoring, and modifying vintage electronic gear, and other random stuff.
Where is that book? There it is.
Mr. Brown, you now join the ranks of Jamie Bond and Maxwell Smart. But before you pat yourself on the back too soon, you better rewind and tell the whole story.
I received the Parrot BT-1 4-transistor book recorder in its original box with the instruction manual.
I've put batteries into this tape recorder. That's 2 C cells and a 9-volt battery. And now I'm going to see what it's going to do. According to the seller, it works. Rewind works, though it's noisy. Play does not work. And because it's rim drive, it's driven by that spindle rubbing against this platter. So let's see what's going on here. Yeah, something isn't right. It looks like it's getting caught on something. And it may need lubrication. And record would be the same. One screw is missing, which makes sense because there was a screw in the package. Not usually a good sign. 1, 2, 3 more screws, and then it should fall out. One screw looks like this. Probably somebody didn't have the right screwdriver for it and ate up the head. Hopefully I can find a replacement. Yes, indeed, the whole thing comes out. That's not bad. I can probably take off that C-clip and lubricate to make it better. Okay. Here's our problem. See how there's spaces in that rubber track that the spindle's supposed to ride on? This probably sat on this, applying pressure for the last 40 or 50 years and completely destroyed it. So when it goes over where it's uneven, it doesn't have enough resistance to keep it moving. Though, as I move it now, there's a lot of resistance. Maybe not. That's the problem. The spindle keeps falling into that and can't get out. What I could do is build it up and then sand it down to the same level. A better solution, taking out that little hump over there, grinding that down, and then if it fell down, then it might be able to get out. It still needs lubrication. Let's take out the C-clips and see what it looks like.
It looks like it will be easier to take off the motor to get the platters out.
It did come off. It does have lubricant on it, but the lubricant is all hard and crusty, which isn't unexpected after 50 plus years. I'll take it off with alcohol and I'll put on new lubricant. There's going to be lubricant on this, but there's also going to be old lubricant inside there. So I'll have to go inside there with another Q-tip. A closer look shows exactly how badly the rubber was compressed and why it's causing such a problem now. Anyway, I'm going to get rid of that knob in the middle and see if that makes a difference. If you take out this clamp for the motor, this little screw will be very, very difficult to get in. unless you remove this screw and this assembly. In fact, the whole cradle of the motor. It's doing a fairly good job on rewind. And as you see, a satisfactory job on play. The added friction of the tape, it's really struggling. I've adjusted the tabs which set the tilt of this motor one way or the other. So that way works okay. This way works okay until it reaches the dimple, and then it gets stuck. And that's going to sound awful. So I will have to fill that gap with something. And I'm thinking about maybe just the tiniest piece of epoxy. I mixed up some of this epoxy putty and squeezed it into the gap on the platter, and we will see if that will do the trick. It's got to be just rough enough to catch the spindle of the motor, but not rough enough to cause any problems. Now it is operating properly. This does move mostly smoothly, but I'm not getting any recording. So the next thing I'll have to do is take out the printed circuit board, which is held in with a bunch of screws plus this knob, probably just a press fit. These two screws have to come out, and it looks like these two nuts have to come out as well. There's a switch, but also a linkage which goes to the mechanism. The knob is not coming off. So what may be the case is that underneath this piece of trim might be a screw. So I'm going to apply heat and see if that comes off. That answers that question. There is no screw underneath that. So it must be a press fit. It was a press fit, and it was really pressed. Generally speaking, what goes wrong with these is the electrolytic capacitors die.
There are coupling capacitors which are not coupling anymore.
Another possible failure mode is one of the transistors. There are 4 transistors on this board. Sometimes they just die. But I'm going to assume the transistors are okay and recap it. Usually that's all that's needed to bring it back to life. The printed circuit board has been recapped. There were a total of 7 capacitors. And now I'm going to put it back together and see how it works, or if it works. Well, here goes. And this should have gone in first. It'll go in afterwards. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. I guess it works, though it's not going to win any contests for high fidelity.
Now that it's back together, it still has one issue. The supply reel wants to unwind faster than the take-up reel can take it up. I'm thinking it's because the speed gets a kick every time the motor spindle rides over my epoxy repair. It's just grippy enough to give the tape a kick of speed, and the momentum results in the supply reel unwinding. Perhaps if the supply reel was more full, it wouldn't be such a problem. I'll keep that in mind next time I'm on assignment using this book recorder for a covert operation. I hope you enjoyed this video from Mr. Brown's Basement on the Parrot book recorder BT-1. Please like and subscribe to see more content. As always, thank you for watching.